Hello everybody and welcome to my channel Wilkie Rocks. This is my first long form video on YouTube. The plan for today is to cut some really unique rocks on my 10-inch slab saw. What you're seeing right now is me setting up the first cut of the day on the slab saw, of which you will see that rock shortly. But if you enjoy the video, I hope that you'll consider subscribing and liking, and let's get started. Let's take a look at some rocks. So to start, I've got this piece of jasper from California that I collected myself. If I'm looking at this, we've got some mossier bits towards the bottom, and then we kind of work our way up into some agate with some brachiated jasper, which is basically just pieces of jasper that crumbled and then got glued back together by some sort of matrix. In this situation, it's agate. So this is jasper suspended in agate, basically. Towards the sides here, we can see that it continues to be moss all the way through the back. And then we continue to get this brachiated stuff towards the top. Then on this side, all moss, and we got solid jasper on the top. So I plan on capturing the full picture in every slab. I want to cut it like this across as many times as I can, and we'll see what happens. Here is our first finished cut. It actually turned out pretty cool. We got the brachiated part over here, and we've got some agate bands coming through the bottom. And then we've got all this mossy stuff up here. Now, I had a bit of a problem, and this is probably going to cost me about a week to machine a new part, but I blew out the feeding mechanism of my saw on the last slab I was trying to take. So this is about as far as I made it through, unfortunately, and I'm now machining a new part, and hopefully I will be back soon to continue cutting. But on the next rock, I will update on how long it took to finish this video. Okay, now moving on, I have two slabs that I was able to take before it blew up on me, which are about the same as that heel I showed you. Got this one with some nice little eyes in the agate, which I do like, and all this nice mossiness. Flip it over to the back, and we've actually got quite a bit of cool agate over here, and a nice little quartz pocket. So this one turned out pretty nice. I love the colors, and I don't know, just the brachiation with the moss is really neat. One last slab. This guy right here got some nice agate pockets. Got that same brachiation and the same mossiness, pretty much exactly like all the others. This one's pretty consistent, and I still have more to cut, so I'm pretty excited to continue cutting this when the saw starts working again, and after I finish this video though. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next cut. So second thing I plan on cutting is this piece of agate from Graveyard Point. I collected this one myself. This is kind of Idaho, Oregon border. So if you see, it's sort of carnelian or iron stained agate with inclusions in it. So my plan is to get this into the clamp any way I can, which will probably be this orientation, and then I'll clamp it down like this, and then I'll probably take slabs from this face just going across, and hopefully we'll get some cool agate with some nice plumy inclusions in it. I'm finally back. It took a long time to fix the saw. It's been a week. Already been a week, but I can finally continue, and this is the Graveyard Point agate, the one that I cut second here, and boy did it turn out great. So we'll go ahead and start with the heel here, and what you can see is plumes. I'm not exactly sure what the plumes are made of. We're getting a little bit of pink. We got a bit of fractures, unfortunately, and then if you look here towards the bottom, there's marcasite inclusions in this that kind of sparkle if you catch the right light. Basically, if you polish this, it'll come out kind of metallic. It's basically gray pyrite. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next slab. Here's the next slab, and it's just more of that goodness. Both sides still got the fractures, unfortunately, but it turned out fantastic regardless. I think that for the most part, I do want to focus any cabbing I would do towards the bottom anyway. So I'm not super worried about it. I will probably not be using a lot of this top part, except for maybe this right here. I could make a live edge cab right here. But that is the second slab. So as we move farther in, we start to see some colors come out. We're starting to get a little bit of red. We're getting more oranges. It's looking better and better. Less fractures too. Only the one fracture throughout the whole piece here, which is really nice. If I flip it on over to the other side, we're starting to get a red plume showing, and we got this nice orange stuff towards the top. The entire slab is usable now, which is really nice. And if I move on to this final slab, we're getting some really cool red plumes. Unfortunately, I had some breakage. I need to knock this off with a hammer. But this turned out incredible. I'm loving the way it looks. And if you look at the heel here, I don't have a lot of water on this, but I didn't want to cut any farther because this red plume only goes so far, and I want to make sure that when I polish this rock as a full face, I get this red plume in there, so I'm not going to cut it any further. It's time to move on to the next rock. Let's see, next up, we've got this piece of red and yellow chalcedony. This is not jasper, it's too translucent. If I shined a light through this, it would glow. If we look at the top and the sides, we've got either probably a chert or opal matrix. I'm honestly not sure where this rock came from, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But I plan on just cutting where this face is across, get some nice slabs, and see what happens. So next rock I cut is this weird agate jaspery situation. Honestly, not sure where it came from or how I got it or anything about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some water on these guys. These turned out incredible. This is my end cut, and look at that color. And this top part is actually see-through. So I'm thinking it's at least mostly chalcedony, agate, something. I couldn't tell you if the more colored parts are jasper or what's going on. So here's another one. It really just maintained the same sort of vibe as the other pieces here. And luckily this rind was pretty minimal. Last slab, same thing. I love the colors. I'm super excited to work with this stuff. And then I wanted to maintain the rest of this rock for just polishing it the way it is. Whenever I have the time or ability to do so, I will definitely polish this one on its own. Next up, we've got this oolite. It's from somewhere in the Pacific Northwest area. If you look at this sort of window here, you can see these really small sort of spherical shapes suspended in another rock. In this situation, it is either chalcedony or some sort of silica. So I just plan on getting this into the clamp any way I can and see if that window opens up into some cooler stuff. All right, next cut's done. And the next one I have here is that weird mystery sort of agate looking thing from before. I'll go ahead and show you what it's looking like. I didn't actually cut too many slabs out of this. What started happening to me on this is that parts were basically flecking off, and I kind of cut into this really cruddy bottom part. So I figure if I'm going to cut this again, I'll probably start cutting along this direction so that I don't have all that cruddiness. But I'll show you a few more of these slabs. If you look real close, you can see all those dots still going through. There's some really amazing color in this actually, so I'm pretty happy with how these turned out overall. I just wish that it wasn't so difficult to cut, otherwise I would have cut more. Got some really cool like agate pockets. That's all I cut, so I got maybe 1 cab per slab that I could do. But other than that, it's pretty cruddy. So I guess I'm just gonna move on to the next rock. We've got this Swazi agate that, weirdly enough, somebody just discarded into a free bin of rocks. So I grabbed it, and I think it's gonna turn out really cool with these whites and reds, pinks and grays and blacks. I plan on clamping it in this way, where my thumb is, and then getting 1 slice off of it, have it, so then I'll have 1 slice and 1 full half. I just finished cutting this agate, and I wanted to do this without looking at it, so I tried to like shield my eyes from what I was looking at, and I didn't actually clean this that well because I was trying not to look at it, so the water might not stick to the reveal very well. But if you remember, this was sort of the window from the outside, and this is the finished agate. We've got those pinks, almost blacks, the grays. The bands aren't super well defined. You can see kind of a flow of the agate through there. I just love the way that the colors change, and it's all fairly subtle, but it's just beautiful. And same with the other side. This actually has a little bit more chromatography, but we've also got this sort of fracture right here, and then this fracture going right through the middle. I'll probably just polish both sides the way that they are because there's not a whole lot to do other than that. But I'm super happy with how these turned out. Okay, next up is this petrified wood. I know it doesn't look like a whole lot, but if you kind of look closer here, you've got some botryoidal agate or chalcedony here. We've got calcite. You can see these nice little square sort of cubic cleavage. So that's calcite. You can see that this agate runs all the way through, and if I look at the front, this here is all petrified wood. So I'm really excited. I'm gonna get this in the clamp, take probably 1 cut off the end, maybe 1 or 2 slabs, and then leave the rest as a specimen piece, because this is just super cool. It's time for the Blue Forest petrified wood. And if I'm being honest, this might be my favorite cut so far. Actually, it is. I don't know why I'm beating around the bush. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you a reveal of the end cut first. And take a look at this. We've got fortification agate all throughout the bottom. It's about a quarter round, which I'm perfectly okay with. We've got some sort of pluminess happening, but this stuff is fairly, I would say, soft. I wouldn't want to cab with that, but I just could not be happier with how amazing these things are. I just did not expect so much color, so much agate, brecciation towards the middle, the way that the agate just flowed into all the cracks, and the depth of the inclusions on the end. Kind of see it dry here. The agate isn't super blue. I've seen bluer, but wow. And the wood grain too. The wood grain is just so well preserved. Here's the last one, the last slab here. And you can see that just continues. That theme of just being incredible continues through every single slab. It's just gorgeous. And then I decided not to cut any farther into this piece because I was going to start cutting into calcite, which would sort of limit the amount of actually good rock I was cutting through. So if I get a little bit of water on this final face here, you can see the agate continues and it's getting even more finely banded. We've got another fortification pocket up top. All of the stuff that made this good continues, but I might have to give this an acid bath to see if it's worth cutting more, or I might just leave this because I think the calcite's pretty cool and just polish the face. Lastly, saving the best for last, is this piece of obsidian. Now, I don't know if you can see it, that sort of captured on video, but if I move this, it has some incredible gold sheen. Kind of look in the bands and you'll see this sort of golden glow running through it as I move the piece. So this came from Glass Buttes, Oregon. I collected this myself. This is mahogany obsidian with black obsidian with clear obsidian, so it's called tri-flow. And then it has golden sheen on the black and red bands, or I guess technically orange, but it's gonna be super fun, so I'm super excited to get these cut. So let's go ahead and take these down to the saw and we'll get started. This was our final rock of the video, and I guess my whole mission behind cutting this piece of obsidian was to show that cutting obsidian can be just as cool as cutting something like an agate or anything like that, especially when it's a good piece of obsidian. I still got a lot of this main rock left, so I plan on taking a board, gluing it down here, and cutting it from the other side. So as you can see, if you look at the orientation of the bands, what I did was I cut it at a slight angle so that I was getting a lot more bands to actually show up. It was working against me on some of them, and then on this more sort of abstract, wavy section, it was working for me. So you win some, you lose some, but overall I'm happy with how these turned out. I put the flash on to hopefully better show you the sheen that you can get from this obsidian. So we'll start from the very end cut. I'll get some water on it. This was our end cut. Quite a few of these bands that go through. And in this section, it didn't go super well for me to cut it the way I did, but it paid off more later. So moving on to this next one, and the striping is beautiful. I love the way that it stripes like that. But okay, now you can sort of see this gold sheen, and the gold sheen just runs through all of these bands. And if you brought this out into sunlight instead of just using my crappy flash, you'd see this better. And then you can also see this one band right here, and this is silver sheen. As you can see, when I move it, the light sort of reflects off of that. So we got a bit of everything in this slab. And then up on the top, we've got some gold sheen mixed in with some tri-flow. Yeah, I skipped a slab, so we'll go back. And this was the next one off. And as you can see, if I hold this, you can see all of that sheen layer. And the patterning is also gorgeous. We continue with that gold sheen throughout the whole slab, and then we've got that silver that I showed you on that last one up towards the top. Last slab, the biggest one. As you can see, we've got this amazing silver sheen band. You can see the gold sheen going at the bottom here. Beautiful gold sheen. And then up towards the top, we've got more of that tri-flow I told you about before, and you can see the way that the gold runs through these bands up in here. And then right here, this band is some really low grade fire obsidian, which I have a short on my channel explaining fire obsidian. This is not very good, but it technically is. But overall, This is probably my absolute favorite slab, as you can see. Let's see if I can find that gold sheen. Where'd it go? There it is. Look at that gold sheen. Lovely, lovely rock. I can't wait to cut more of this. And if I do, I will upload that as a short. But that's about it for this video. This is the last thing I wanted to show you guys. I hope you enjoyed if you stuck around this long, and I will see you guys in the next video.